Hey guys, we've gotten a lot of new polls out over this past week, specifically focusing on specific states in that 2020 Democratic primary. So I'm going to run through those numbers in this video. It's going to be touching on 5 different polls across the states of Alabama, Nevada, Pennsylvania, as well as Oregon, and then also just taking a look at the larger scope on the national scale and any of these polls that have head-to-head results in that general election against Donald Trump as well. So starting off here with a Change Research poll. This was done with around 1,200 likely voters in the state of Alabama. And of those who have announced thus far for that Democratic 2020 primary, Bernie Sanders has the lead at 27% in the state of Alabama, followed by Beto O'Rourke at 17%, Kamala Harris at 16%, Cory Booker at 14%, Elizabeth Warren at 12%, Pete Buttigieg at 4%, Amy Klobuchar at 2%, and then everyone else is either at 1% or 0%. Now, Alabama, obviously in their Democratic primary, going to have a lot of African-American voters. So these are the kind of states specifically where Kamala Harris and Cory Booker want to be performing a bit better than maybe what they're doing in some of these other states. And we can see that a little bit here with Harris and Booker at 16 and 14 percentage points respectively. But then we go down and they asked if Joe Biden was in the mix, how would you cast your vote? And things change very quickly with Biden in the picture. You can see he leads in Alabama with 42% of the vote. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that Joe Biden, being the vice president of Barack Obama for 8 years, plays very well amongst the African-American voters in the state of Alabama. And we're seeing that carry over into these numbers with Biden running away from the rest of the pack, at least in this particular poll in Alabama, with 42 percentage points. Bernie Sanders in second at 13, Kamala Harris at 12, Beto O'Rourke at 10, Cory Booker at 9, Elizabeth Warren at 6, and Pete Buttigieg at 3, and then everyone else is either at 1 percentage point or 0. So now moving over to an Emerson poll. This one just came out recently here from the state of Nevada at the end of March. Sample size here of around 310. You can see a very close race amongst the top 2 Democratic potential candidates here, with Joe Biden obviously being a potential candidate, Bernie Sanders having already thrown his hat in the ring over a month ago. But within 3 percentage points, within the margin of error, Joe Biden leading at 26 percentage points, Bernie Sanders at 23, everyone else at 10 percentage points or less. So we have Beto O'Rourke at 10, Elizabeth Warren at 10, Kamala Harris at 9. And then again, we're seeing Pete Buttigieg performing a little bit better, at least moving up from the bottom of the scale here, as we're seeing him at 5 percentage points, Andrew Yang at 3 percentage points, given how strong he did amongst younger voters in this particular poll. Amy Klobuchar at 2, Cory Booker at 2, Tulsi Gabbard at 2, and then everyone else at 1 percentage point or 0. And you can see that here when we go down into the numbers amongst 18 to 29-year-olds. Sanders continuing to lead, but you can also see, interesting here, Yang with 14% of those voters. And the fact that Yang has had a stronger presence online than maybe some of these other candidates, it doesn't surprise me that he does better with those voters that are in the younger age demographic. But one thing that surprised me, at least in this particular poll in the state of Nevada, a state that has been trending more Democratic over the past couple decades, we're seeing that in this particular poll where Trump is winning in head-to-head matchups against every candidate except Joe Biden. We're seeing that here, Biden with a 4-point lead, Bernie with a 2-point being 2 points behind Trump, as well as Kamala Harris being 2 points down, Pete Buttigieg being 4 points down, and Elizabeth Warren being 8 points down. And again, a relatively small sample size. That's something to keep in mind here. So a lot of these results are within the margin of error. But if the Democrats in 2020 are going to lose a state like Nevada, then that probably doesn't bode well for them in trying to flip some of these other states, because the Democrats were able to obviously win a state like Nevada back in 2016. So if they're losing or having Trump flip these kind of states, then that wouldn't be a great sign for them, obviously. But this is just one poll and one data point to go off of. Now going over to another Emerson poll. And again, this one was done later on here in the month of March. This one for the state of Pennsylvania. And it's not a big surprise here to see Joe Biden do very well in the state of Pennsylvania. He has ties to Scranton, Pennsylvania, I believe it is, leading the way at 39 percentage points. Sanders in second at 20, Elizabeth Warren at 11, Pete Buttigieg, again, kind of making a rise up here, at least getting into that top 5 or so range. Early on, he was just getting trace amounts of percentage points, but again, he seems to be kind of building some momentum in comparison to a lot of these other Democrats that kind of fit a similar mold in terms of young up-and-comers within the party, such as Beto O'Rourke, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Kirsten Gillibrand. It seems like Pete Buttigieg has kind of captured some of the thunder that some of these other candidates would like to be getting, and he's gaining. And at least in this poll, he's coming in 4th place. Then we have Beto O'Rourke at 5, Kamala Harris at 5, Cory Booker at 4, Tulsi Gabbard at 3, Kirsten Gillibrand at 2. And that's not a good result for Kirsten Gillibrand in a state that's very close to the state where she's a senator from in New York. The fact that she's only registering 2 percentage points, not a great sign there. But then we go to those head-to-head matchups, and a bit more positive news for the Democrats in this one, in contrast to that Nevada poll that we got from Emerson, as Biden leading Trump by 10 percentage points, 55 to 45. Bernie Sanders leading Trump by 10 percentage points, 55 to 45. Warren ahead by 4 percentage points. Kamala Harris ahead by 2 percentage points, as well as Beto O'Rourke ahead by 2 percentage points. Now going over to a Zogby poll here. This is out of the state of Oregon. Bernie Sanders coming in 1st place at 27% of the vote. Joe Biden in 2nd at 26%. Again, very close between those top 2 candidates in this state of Oregon. I'd be surprised if Bernie didn't win the state of Oregon. It was one of the best primary states that he had back in 2016 in his head-to-head against Hillary Clinton. But then behind that, all the other candidates are below 10 percentage points. Beto O'Rourke at 8%. Kamala Harris at 6. And again, the fact that Oregon, very close in proximity to California, where Kamala Harris is the senator from. She'd like to do well in a state like this, obviously, given the closeness in geography to where she's a senator from. But coming in 4th place here at 6 percentage points, Elizabeth Warren at 6, Cory Booker at 4, Andrew Yang at 4, Pete Buttigieg at 3, and then everyone else at 1 percentage point or less. And just one more poll that I want to touch on here. I believe in my last video I said I was interested in getting that weekly morning consult poll and what kind of boost that Beto O'Rourke was going to get after he had made his announcement the week prior, and probably not the numbers that O'Rourke was hoping for. He is flat here at 8 percentage points with no gain. The only real difference in this poll here is the fact that Biden is now 10 percentage points ahead of Bernie, given that Bernie took just a slight step back here to 25 percentage points compared to Biden, who's at 35 percentage points in that national Democratic primary poll. So that's going to wrap up this video, guys. Touched on all of the 5 polls that I wanted to discuss in this video. Again, subscribe for more of this type of content. I hope to see you guys back here for my next video.